Does anyone recognize this woman right here? If you don't know who she is, you haven't missed much, and I actually envy you. She's a pure example of the far left parading about everything wrong with the media, about such issues such as feminism, diversity, LGBT rights, and yes, even fat acceptance.
There wasn't much diversity to be seen in the body types represented by the female heroes. The 5 female characters introduced consisted of the slender adventurer Tracer, the slender healer Mercy, the slender support character Symmetra, the slender sniper Widowmaker, and the slender but well-armored security chief Farah. But when we look at the female heroes, there's nothing approaching the diversity we see on the male side of the roster. There are a few noteworthy variations from the standard. Illaoi is somewhat more muscular than many of the female characters. Jinx has smaller breasts, and there's the cute gnome-like Tristana. But the overwhelming majority of female characters make it clear that a slender figure with prominent breasts is viewed as the standard for female character design.
I have a lot of bones to pick with Anita Sarkeesian, but that's for another video. The point of this one is just like the far left, the far right goes down the exact same road. As you can tell by the gameplay, I'm excited about Far Cry 5 being released tomorrow, and I will be playing it on PlayStation 4. I raised an eyebrow after seeing InfoWars' reaction to the entire thing. You know that site run by Alex Jones, where the frogs turn gay?
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay!
Well, at least he cares for the environment. Far Cry 5 takes place in a secluded region of Montana where a cult takes over and goes on a killing rampage as if a foreign country had invaded and occupied the US. A local sheriff moves in to see what all the fuss is about, and gets caught in the middle when the local residents start fighting against the cult. What's so controversial is that the cult is religiously motivated. But here's the thing. A lot of far-right activists took it as an attack on Christianity. This is where I tend to come in. I myself identify as a Christian deist. I go to church every Saturday, I read the Bible, and I also criticize atheism. So here I'm going to explain why this is not an attack on Christianity, and not just because I'm a Far Cry fan. Let's listen to this guy rant.
Video games are now waging war on Christianity. You can't make this stuff up. There's a new video out there, a new video game out there called Far Cry 5, and we're going to load up the clip here in a minute, where what they want to do is attack Christians as being some kind of cultists, as being some kind of members. In the promo trailer, they make everybody, the whole plot of the game is that Christians have taken over in Montana. These bad, evil Christians. If you're a Christian, you're probably in a cult. You're killing people. They show people at a table with wolves and knives, and they have a guy tied up. The whole attack on Christianity and Christians in America is coming from every level. The mainstream media, Hollywood, and now for video games. So let's go ahead and watch this clip, and then we'll talk about it. You hear that, right? Amazing Grace playing in the background, peaceful music. The video game world and the video game industry is controlled by the far left.
Let me cut off the video right here. I want to start by saying that it's hilarious to see these people saying that the far left controls the video game industry, while it is the far left that always gets butthurt the most over content in the media.
Where what they want to do is attack Christians as being some kind of cultists, as being some kind of members.
Now I want to pull their arguments apart. The villain of this game is a cult. Not Christians in general, but a cult. Throughout history, there have been many cults that were religiously motivated, and guess what? They were all condemned by the church. On another note, you cannot say that Christians have violently taken over when 70% of Montana identifies as Christian. From this, you can easily say that the characters opposing the cult are statistically Christian, which also leads me to another point. It is quite confirmed that the protagonists are Christians themselves, especially when supporting non-playable characters are members of a church. The way I see it, the game itself debunks these accusations of demonizing Christianity. Even the Bible warns, "For false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect." This guy right here, the antagonist of the game, is a false prophet, an individual the Bible warns of. These guys don't end here, though. They even set up a petition to cancel or change the game. So this is the petition, and as I can see, about 2,500 people have signed it. And they only want to get to 5,000? Come on, 5,000 is fucking nothing. I mean, the town where I live, which is basically a small village, has more people than that. But never mind, let's read this. So, cancel Far Cry 5, blah blah blah. Now let's start from the top. Enough is enough, Ubisoft. Ubisoft, sorry. Hold on, let me put it up a bit. "We have sat through your multicultural lectures and your preachy games aimed at degenerates and miscegenators." What? Multiculturalism. Okay, dude, 85% of people in Montana are white, and some of the largest minorities there are the Native Americans. I mean, look, if I was American, the first place where I would choose to live is Montana. As a matter of fact, it has a climate very similar to Canada, so that's why it would be good for me. It's also worth noting that they have voted Republican in pretty much many elections. "We've tolerated in the name of gameplay design and innovation, but no more. Far Cry 5 is an insult to your fanbase, the Americans who make up the majority of your customers, and it's time you woke up to the fact. Change this or cancel it." These people sound like Ubisoft is a degenerate of some sort. "Us gamers have had to tender a lot of crap over the last few years. The targeted harassment by the mainstream press throughout Gamergate, the terrible launch and outright lies of highly anticipated video games, the outright censorship of art through localization policies, the continued rejection of romantic partners when they find out our hobby, the appropriation of our culture by so-called gamers on Twitter, no more." What the fuck are they talking about? So far, the only people who I've heard criticizing video games are liberals. And that's because there's too much sexism, or there is too much nudity, or whatever. Or not enough multiculturalism, or blah blah blah. It's time to draw a line in the sand. We, the American gamers that make up the majority of your user base, okay, you mentioned that, demand you to cancel this game or alter it to be less offensive to your main player base. Wow, confirmed. Far right, just as butthurt as the far left. In these times, you must understand that there might be some violent repercussions if you intend to follow through your pointless criticism. So here are the following suggestions to make your game right. Change the villains. It's not so hard, really. Just change the villains to something more realistic. Islam is on the rise in America, as is the violence of inner-city gangs. Okay, I know I'm criticizing these guys, but I actually wouldn't have a problem with the enemy becoming Muslims. Are you scared to do so? In the words of Voltaire, to learn who rules you, simply find out who's not being criticized. I don't know what that has to do with this, but oh well. Alter the villains. Didn't you just say that? Even if you insist on making the villains American Christians, consider mixing the races a bit to not towards white people exclusively. Dude, did you even see the trailer? There are not only white people in the cult. Not only that, as I mentioned, Montana is a majority white state. Statistically, they're going to be white. And may I also remind you that the protagonists are also white people. There are plenty of nationalists of every stripe and every mix and every race and creed. So throw in some blacks and Mexicans. Well, there are blacks. Okay, you don't have a lot of Mexicans in the northern states, but you do have blacks. There's no reason a protectionist nationalist movement would all be one race. Why stop being politically correct here? Alter the plot. It's obvious that you continue to insist on using these characters. However, with a few artistic tweaks, you can save the concept entirely. Have the villains simply be misguided patriots forced into making their own nation versus the will of an oppressive over-government construct of all people they turn their wrath against in their immediate surroundings. Their brutal physical and sexual violence towards their oppressors will be explained as a reaction to harsh government policies and taxation to show that both sides are wrong. Well, the game hasn't been released. We don't really know much of the plot. It is very possible that this is the case. And, hold on, I went a little too far. And the last one. Change the setting, but only for certain markets. Look, I get anti-Americanism plays in France, and I'm not telling you to give up on potential profits due to complaints. Wouldn't want to be thought as one of those hypocrite feminists, right? Well, actually, you kind of are. But for America, right now, anti-Americanism is out. You gotta play your market. Change the setting to Canada for America. Oh, so it's okay for Canadian Christians like myself to be triggered, but it's not okay for Christian Americans to be triggered. You just prove that you're a fucking hypocrite. This way you don't turn away potential players due to offensiveness. Just try to help you make more money. Well, here's the thing. If you don't like the game, don't play it. And the last one, follow one or more of these, and this game will be saved from PC hell and multicultural development. This has nothing to do with fucking multiculturalism, and there is no multiculturalism in the game. It's set in a homogenous region. We Americans have so few games to call our own. Are you fucking kidding me? The vast majority of the gaming industry is owned by the United States. I'm not even going to comment how retarded this is. We Americans have so few games to call our own, and we're tired of losing them to multicultural bullshit. Well, I think that was quite hilarious. I want to say to some fellow Christians, atheists aren't the only ones we're supposed to be wary of. Certain individuals in InfoWars must be called out as well. So, come on, let's help each other on this.